Oh, aloha and welcome to Pirates, politically incorrect relationship astrology that evolves souls. And right now, what I'm going to do is make sure that this has public access on Facebook. So just bear with me for a moment as I attend to the technical side of things here. Because if I don't, you guys won't be able to see it. Okay. So we should be live now. We should
Hello.
we should have public access now. Public should have access to the pirates. Arg. Oh yeah, and I have to look at. So we got a lot of questions from Julie Hedges, and we're so grateful for her for asking questions. So we welcome questions. That's why I'm putting these posts up on my Facebook page so that you can, once I put the post up, you can ask questions. Or you could private message one of us questions too. Um, we're trying to amp up to go live every week. And what we're looking for are people who would be willing to have their charts looked at live, so that every other week we'll talk about, we'll talk about like the moon and what's going on with that, and then the weeks in between, we can look at people's charts and ask brief questions about it. But we need people who are willing to share their chart information. So that's an exciting update, and so you'll be getting that as like a free little thing. And this way you can see what it's like because I can keep telling you how Whitney looking at my chart, how that's helped me. And I know that other people who have had their chart read by her, that they've had a lot of big shifts in their life from that. But you need to sometimes you need to see it live
Yeah, you
before
get a little taste. You get a
you get a
little,
little
yeah.
taste. We're giving you an amuse bouche.
Ah, that's great.
Yeah, yeah. So it's one of my, I don't know, it's one of my favorite words. So I want to look at Julie's questions.
Well, first we just need to
Oh,
lay down
you
with the
want
moon before we get to questions.
to,
So
okay.
today, this morning already was exact the full moon in Sagittarius, right? So Sagittarius is a lot about freedom, right? In a different way than Aquarius is focused, is like about freedom. Aquarius is like the rebel, like with or without a cause, and Sagittarius is like a horse that needs to run,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that's what they, because they are the horse and they need space and no fences, right? Like that's like wild. Spirituality and continuing further education and long distance travel and religion falls under Sagittarius. Spirituality also is ruled by Pisces, but in a different way, different like aspect of it. It's not, and it is actually religious too, but they're like two different schools on spirituality and religion. Um, the not so nice side of Sagittarius is that it can be quite reckless, reckless and non-committal, right? That's that freedom part, no commitments. Like if Sagittarius can be cheaters,
Mm-hmm.
the cheater aspect is when you have Venus in Sagittarius, like you're cheaters. Well, also like you get, okay, I have Sagittarius in my third house, which is the house of friends because it's Gemini, and I have Neptune there. And Neptune is delusions, betrayal. I get burned by Sagittarius like my whole life. I mean, it's funny that you and I are such good friends because in the past, if somebody was Sagittarius, I'd be like, okay, you could just like stay at arm's length because I don't need that lesson that many times, right? I've already had it plenty. Um, but that's not how it is for everybody. You know, some people, it's really their best compliment. It's not my best compliment because they can be mean. It can be like blunt and no restraints verbally, right? They think they're just giving you the truth, but it isn't actually always the truth. They are in pursuit of truth, but they don't always just deliver the honest truth because they have some other stuff happening in the chart that colors that or muddies it or gets in the way. And so pursuit of truth, full
Yeah.
moon, it's opposite not just the stuff that, not just the sun in Gemini, but it's opposite this Jupiter and Venus conjunction in Taurus, because that's from the 29th degree, the critical degree. There's another name for it, but my dyslexic ass can't pronounce it because I've never heard anybody say it. So we're just going to call it the critical degree.
Oh, what is the other name for it? Let me.
You want to look it up and
Yeah.
read it for me because I don't know how to
Yeah.
say it.
Yeah. I don't know if I've heard. I like words, so let's see. What give you want to? You want to set? Do you? All right. Tell me. Do you tell me where I can find it, or like send me a screenshot of it? Um. Let me see. See if I can find it. Because that's like screaming at me. I need to know what that word is. Not because you have trouble pronouncing it, but because there's something in the word.
ANA,
Anoretic.
anaretic degree. Okay. When I look at it without reading it, it looks like like anarchy.
Arctic.
Right? That's what it looks like. Okay. So, but it's also called the critical degree. And the last degree of any sign in astrology is completion, right?
Mhm.
Finalizing. And so it can be said that Jupiter and Venus conjunct is like the best good luck day of the year. So make a wish. Like Astro Pieces Astrology, she's always telling you to make a wish on a Venus day or on a Jupiter day. She's like, make sure you make a wish. Don't forget to make a wish. She's so cute. But like, right. However it is that you do it, like if you do positive affirmations, if you write stuff down, if you talk to yourself in the mirror, meditation, whatever, like you need to somehow harness some of that energy and focus it because I think it's
Right.
about to get a little wild and crazy, astrologically speaking, in the next few months or for the rest of the year. Like this good luck period of Jupiter and Taurus, as far as money and finances goes, is like not supposed to stick around.
Mm.
Like I don't know exactly what that looks like. I don't pretend to like make forecasts like that,
Right.
but I listen to what other people say. And one of my favorite astrologers, who's a supporter of Bitcoin, he makes a lot of really good points. And
Mm.
so I'm just gonna like wait and see, right? But inflation and housing and all that is unstable. And Gemini is really unstable because
Right.
Gemini wants to play. Gemini likes to play. So now we're in Gemini. We're in the season of Gemini, and everything's about having fun. It's about friends and talking and ideas and games and kids and like, being childlike because Gemini is very childlike like that. Um,
What does a mature Gemini look like?
well,
Ah.
it's
Mhm.
not necessarily immature, but okay, I have a friend
Mhm.
who she's a Gemini and she's what? She's 51,
Mhm.
2, and her birthday at the beach is always these big life-size games, right? Like Jenga, but like human-sized Jenga.
Oh,
And
like human-sized chess, right?
right. Like she has the collection of games. Like
Okay.
um and not necessarily in an escapist kind of way, but because you have to lighten up sometimes and you have to have certain people around that lighten things up,
Yeah.
but Gemini is very heady and they're verbose. They like to talk about everything, ideas, lots of ideas. Like the Mercury energy is very fast. It's very fast.
Mhm.
So, um, it's important to have aspects of that in daily life, and it's not like, oh, they're immature, right? It's
Right, but there's some, like I said, like some of them are in the shadow, and some of them, are in more maturity. Like I
well,
always,
in the shadow part, they're like the two-faced version.
yeah, yeah,
There's no authenticity,
ah,
there's no depth, there's no core.
right,
There's, I'm going to say what I'm going to say to you, and then I'm going to go over here and say this is this person, and then there's no, it's all faces, and there's no core.
right. So that's what I would say. It comes from Jung. I think it comes from Jung, which I've heard from Bernard Gunther, which is um holding the tension of the opposites, being able to hold the tension of the opposites within yourself, meaning like there's some kind of depth about that, meaning that you can explore the opposites, not get lost in just, spewing information, and being able to see, I guess, the duality or polarity of things. Like, so basically, I think people get locked into benefit or detriment, not
Mm,
realizing that they're both in all things.
right. So Sagittarius
Hmm.
is ruled by Jupiter,
Hmm.
right? So it's it's quite curious that we're having a full moon in Jupiter, and Jupiter is conjunct Venus right behind the sun, right there, like actually conjunct the sun.
Hmm.
They're 29 degrees and the sun's at 2 degrees, right? So it can be very expansive. Like things can be good and things can blow up.
But because it's like the moon, we're talking about how the moon illuminates, like what the moon truly illuminates, right? So if the moon is illuminating something, right? So it's going to be focused on the feminine and emotions, right? Um, Kind of like what, it's not the brightest light. Like the sun is a light that brings clarity, right? It's like wants to bring, it has like a level of clarity. And the moon is not as clear, right? It's not as
Right
clear of,
now, dim.
yeah. So it's like almost like saying, if I were to talk, like, this is the way I'm going to talk about it from my perspective, is the moon is kind of like how things are shared to keep us still looping or locked into a not free mindset, like a stuck mindset, is that they give you two truths and a lie.
Oh,
And and
huh.
it's kind of like this interesting discernment, right? Of trying to like figure that out. It's like you're not 100% there in the clarity that you need yet. That's what I would say, how I would say it. But I looked up anoretic, and I was looking for the word origin, and you know what's wild? It's not on the etymology website. It's not there, which is,
What?
yeah, I'd have to do a search for it. Like it's not just showing up right away, but I found um so they call it, like, because it's a final degree, they call it like a destructive degree too. So
Right.
it's like basically it's all about fate and destiny. So like, it's like basically the 29th degree is very attached to fate, and that we just have to wait to see how it plays out, how things play out. You have to leave it to the fates, which is interesting because
On that kick for a
I've
while,
been on
actually.
that kick for a while, which is just looking at the fates, like, because having, Jupiter in the first house, and Jupiter is Zeus, and realizing in the Greek mythology that the only thing gods feared were the fates. So in some way you could say like they felt the fates were actually more powerful than they were, and that's an odd thing for a god to say,
Hmm.
right? Why would a god fear anything?
I don't. Yeah, I don't.
Like, you see what I mean? Like, so that's like a whole trippy thing to even just kind of, just kind of contemplate. And again, it's a mythos, right? And the way that gods are portrayed, even the doesn't matter which like basically paradigm you're looking at, whether it's Greek or it's Egyptian or it's Hawaiian, even like when
Uh-huh.
when the myths of the gods are revealed, I always find it odd that the gods are jealous. Why would God be jealous? What would you not be able to have as a
I
god?
think that's projection. I think that's,
Yeah, I think that's projection too. I think it's a big time projection. I also think it's it's like one, it's like, okay, if you see that, right? And maybe, instead of, it's like saying, this is how the gods grew, right? Like if kind of like if it were like a growth tale, you'd see how they grew through that experience to access the God within, but it's not being given to us like that. And so because those stories, we get them when we're young, different kinds of myths, then we kind of like, if as we're trying to be our God-centered self, it gets in the subconscious, it gets kind of infiltrated with all these stories about gods who did all these horrible things.
hmm,
But if you knew you had everything you needed to create the life you want at your fingertips, at the speed of thought, you would not seek to destroy someone else because you would know that that power is limitless and you wouldn't need to take power from anyone else.
right.
Sorry, it's like I'm like went off on a tangent, it's
That's
okay.
okay. No,
Yeah.
it's actually very Sagittarian, the tangent.
Yeah, it's a very Sagittarian tangent, and the
Well,
I
because I was just looking at Julie's questions, and
yeah.
she mentions what does the full moon in Sagittarius and the sun in Gemini have to say about authenticity, right? And I know that this isn't going to be popular or that I might get chastised for it, but I don't think that axis is really focused on authenticity.
That's okay.
I think so much of that axis, right,
Mhm.
is like I said, non-committal
Mhm.
and focused on playing. Because so does Sagittarius, like the play, and like she says, it's very it's adventurous, it's expansive, it's exploratory. So uh
Yeah.
now knowing you as a Sagittarius who's heavily Sagittarius, you know, changes that whole thing, but that's not the norm. Okay. There's other stuff at play in, so it's the potential is there. The potential for deep authenticity is there, but it's easier to play.
Yeah, well, I do like to play. I like to play with
Cool.
energy. I like to play with concepts. I like to,
Okay,
like,
well, what I'm talking about, like the typical Sagittarius stereotype, is like clubbing,
oh,
like going out, partying, dancing, imbibing,
I did that. Look, I did that in spades. I did that. I did
right.
that for a long time. And this is what's interesting because I I love that. I mean, part of it was like the drinking was secondary to the dancing. Like it was dancing. That was the
Yeah.
primary.
Okay.
That's it. Clubbing, dancing. I didn't care. And people who knew me then knew like I didn't need a drink to get, to wild out on the dance floor. I didn't care. I don't care.
Yeah.
But I would imbibe because I at the time I enjoyed beer. I really did. I was more of like I really liked beer and I liked wine and I liked kind of like flavored vodkas, like or like
Okay.
so or really I went through a Captain Morgan's and ginger ale phase too. So I did all that. And when I got into accepted into acupuncture school, I I said, okay, I'm gonna drink. I was 33 when I got accepted. And I said, I'm gonna drink until I'm sick of drinking, and then I'm gonna drink more. I'm gonna go out and dance and drink until I go to acupuncture school, until I'm sick of it. And that's what I did. And that's pretty much like I stopped drinking for the most part then. I stopped going out to clubs.
Mhm.
Um, I did try like so for like 15 years straight, I didn't have any alcohol. And then I tried mead when I got here to see if it had a different impact on me. And I was like, no, it's still like a trade-off. Like it doesn't, in order to do the work,
Yeah, but that meat is terrible.
yeah, but in order to do the work that I have to do, I can't
Yeah,
imbibe.
no, you can't, yeah.
I can't.
It's a
So,
different level, right? It's the authenticity level. It's
right.
taking it from the play parties thing to like the spiritual truth pursuit, like,
Well,
stallion on the plains of like, well, it's actually the archer, but it's
yeah.
still the horse. Um,
Right. So that's how we get to then that's how we get to the authenticity. Like is saying like, oh, like I've done all the playing. I had to do it to the point I didn't want to do it and then force myself to do it a little more. Because I could have foreseen as in my younger days living my life like that. Like finding nightclubs for older people and just keep going, honestly. Which there is one in Avon that was called the Columns. We call it Jurassic Park because there will be people that are 21 to 81 there. I was not kidding. So I was like, oh, I have one place down. And if I can't find a place, I'll just create a place for, it's like was my attitude. But it changed, it shifted. Once I got serious about studying,
that
once
is
I found
right.
a philosophy.
A philosophy, because that's Sagittarius
Right.
philosophy.
Well, it was real. It wasn't even like I found the philosophy. It was that I saw the philosophy within myself and realized it was aligned for me to study.
Mm.
So that's how that all, and I'm like, like I'm just kind of giving the history and like kind of like how you can slap into authenticity in this part and still play. You can still play. You
Well, yes, but not to excess and not to detriment, which
no, no.
which well, that's the thing is like I know, okay, somebody else that we know and love that's close to me has a stellium in Sagittarius in his eighth house. Okay.
Uh,
And I think he died. He died and came back of a cardiac arrest because he was like downing drugs because he didn't want to get caught by the cops or the cops were going to catch him. And he was like, fuck it, I'm going to die in the bushes.
yeah,
Like, okay. Like, that's like the pinnacle of reckless Sagittarius energy right
yeah,
there.
yeah. Yeah, so I think that that's how, like, it's like you have to repurpose the play.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how you would find that.
Gemini's authenticity is in ideas, right? It could be very academic, very fleshing things out in conversation with others, like think tank kind of
Hmm.
stuff that you really have to have a dialogue to unwind or to discover what, you know,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Like that would be the higher application of that energy.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah. So it's like, what else did we get from our friend Julie?
If Sagittarius relates to exploration, how does someone know what type of exploration feeds their soul through the lens of astrology? Well,
Well, where's the what house
in
is
terms of that, in terms of
yeah.
astrology, it would determine which house you have
Yeah.
in you have Sagittarius on the cusp of, and if you have any placements in it.
Right.
Because take you for instance, you have all your first house Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising stuff, like it's all loaded right up in there, which is the Aries, which is about the self, and you do a whole lot of work about helping other people learn themselves,
Hmm.
learn how to be in honest, deep communication with themselves. Yeah, right. You have to like do lots of exploring
Hmm.
in the invisible internal realm of, getting real with who you are and what you might not be and where you want to develop yourself and all of that, right? That's so it's very individually focused, that
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah, you have to definitely have to look at the house and the any placement that's in the house. And that'll
Mhm.
give you the tones. It's kind of, I think it's like, here's the tone that you speak through, or here's the color, or here's the, it's like, okay, if exploration is the, you know, the overalls, right? Then you like what pattern is in the overalls, right? Like maybe, and what colors are you using?
Hmm. Her other question says Sagittarius is mutable fire. If someone needs support with their fire, too hot or not enough, what points can help ease and support their fire?
I think she's asking for acupuncture point.
Acupuncture points. And
Yeah.
then it says, and what type of indicators of fire imbalance?
Imbalance or
Im-
imbalanced? Okay.
IMBALANCE.
So this is an interesting topic because people don't understand about deficient fire. Deficient fire can can feel fiery. So it means you're deficient in fire, but you're also like appear fiery. So it's like people who talk but have nothing to say.
So that's air. So it's aggravated.
Well, so so I'm going to go the Chinese medicine lens.
Mhm.
The heart opens to the tongue. If you're chatty, keep chatting like a chatty motherfucker, but you don't say anything, you're not saying anything of substance or anything that, is transformational or like has any kind of like true soul value,
Substance, nothing, no
no
substance.
substance, no nothing, then that's deficient fire. You want to keep you want to say something important, but there's no substance behind it and you can't find the important thing to say. The other way that this deficient fire, because I'm linking this to like spiritual people. I
Mhm.
mean, this is like a regular kind of like anyone. Like I've been on the train in New York City and like a guy just going on and on and on and on and on and on about nothing. And it is annoying. It can feel like, to me, it feels annoying. It's like you're not saying anything, so shut up. Um, so but on the
On his cell
spirit,
phone, right? On his cell phone.
no, talking
Just
to some
to
other
somebody next
person
to him.
who was like this.
Just put me out of my
Yeah,
misery.
yeah, look at that. So so the deficient fire in is kind of like this, always trying to get a spiritual high.
Mm.
But there's no substance. There's no has to build substance within you. It has to get you into your internal terrain. So it's about the people that speak all the spiritual stuff that don't offer anything. And people get sucked into this because they're just in a state of deficiency. So they get sucked into the deficiency kind of tractor beam or whatever. There's something I want to call that, but like a tide pull or whatever. And,
Okay.
and then they just don't know how to get out of it. Now, when you have excess fire, you can also talk a lot. So it's like when you have so excess fire is going, you're gonna feel hot. People could be red, like be
Dry.
red in the face. Like so physiologically, they'll have signs of excess fire. They could have headaches, lots of headaches. Um, like deficiency fire is always going to be like feeling they might seem like they have a lot of energy, but they don't. Kind of like think about hyperthyroidism.
Mm.
They actually don't have as much energy. They're kind of like spinning out in a way, right?
Right.
And so there's deficiency fire. So when we're trying to like work with fire energy, like think of fire is spirit. Fire is connected to the heart in Chinese medicine. We have in astrology, you have Sagittarius, Leo, Aries, fire, right? The most mutable fire is Sagittarius, right? I'm correct about that. So if you want to just balance fire, you're going to want to work with a heart point on the heart meridian and like a fire point on the heart meridian, because you're going to want to see like you don't want to like stimulate the fire. You don't want to extinguish the fire, you want to bring it into balance. So you want
Mm.
to get into that source point, and the source point is like the point where you're drawing in the cosmic chi of this. It's kind of like, here's the cosmic archetype collective field of consciousness, and you're attuning yourself to it within your body. But what I would say is, first, instead of going to a heart point, I would go to a pericardium point, because pericardium is the heart protector.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to go to that,
Starting a point on the wrist is part of what helps for sleep, right? Because you're
right,
calming down that overactive heat that gets, you know, pushed up and then keeps you from sleeping.
right. So this point, that's what you're talking about,
Mhm.
PC6.
Yeah.
This point, darling, is like is a whole different feeling, right? Because it one of the things, that name, even though that's the pinyin, it's like when you lose someone, you may want to use that point because you're darling, you understand?
Mm.
But this point, I say work with pericardium 8, because one, it's easily found. All you have to do is curl your fingers and get into that point. That's it. The middle finger will touch that point because that's the pericardium finger.
It's in between the two metatarsals there.
Yeah, the pericardium finger, the pericardium finger is going into the pericardium point. So if you have to discharge stress from your heart, this is what you do.
Ah,
This is an actual qigong practice. You discharge the stress from your heart, right? You're trying to discharge stress. That's why that works. So when you get to this point, like, you want to, like,
it's Chinese medicine.
yes, this is Chinese medicine. I'm giving you Chinese medicine. So, when you get to this point, like your middle finger, you can massage it, or you can even like do it this way, or you can start to play, like what they call this is, you can play with the energy between, right, those 2 points. But the reason I start there is because there's a lot of things where the heart meridian was in like originally was never needled. It was never touched. It was never stimulated. They used the pericardium. And that's weird because the pericardium meridian wasn't came later. So I don't know. So there's like conflicting, information. But I find that if you want to use I feel like the pericardium is the place to start, because you're kind of saying, you're kind of getting to the natural heart protector. This is a natural protection your heart has, and you're accessing that consciousness personally in your body, and you're asking the cosmic flow of that energy to also support you. So you touch it, you rub it, you can do this where you're feeling the energy, like connection between those 2 points between your hands, and you breathe through it. So you pick the one that works for you, and then you just see how you change. And as you see it, like, yeah, I got like a lot of, it's like I got a little fiery and excited, right? But as I'm tuning into this point, you can feel how my energy is like just kind of shifting a little bit.
Regulating.
Yeah, it's regulating. So it's coming into a regulation, but I like to exemplify kind of like some of the way fire can be expressed, because it's fast. Wood and fire together, kind of like explosive.
Mm. I don't like wood energy.
You are wood energy, though.
Really? I guess I just don't like too much of it.
Well, you have it in your birth energy based on 9-star key, but you don't have it in your eyebrows. Your wood eyebrows are like big, thick, hairy, straight across eyebrows. Like I don't have the thickness, but I have more wood eyebrows. They're more straight across. They have a little arch to them, but they're more,
Oh, oh, okay.
and I have more of a wood kind of hairline. Like, so it's a little
Oh,
bit
the fairness.
angular. Yeah. If you have
Yeah,
if
my
you have a hairline that's like not even, it means you have issues with your mother. FYI.
Oh, is heart and fire energy related to the liver?
Well, they have a relationship, right? So wood feeds fire. So in the creation cycle,
Okay, so the liver is wood,
liver is wood, and then that,
and it's why it feeds the heart.
yeah, because how do you make a fire? How do you feed a fire? You need wood.
Right.
You need a wood substance to that's what you light to have a fire. Most of the time, not like, like a fuel fire or something else, right? That's a whole nother thing.
Right.
But that's in the creation cycle. So they have a relationship where you want, where so if you're wood deficient, right? If you don't have enough wood for your fire, you could have deficient fire. You could have if your wood even is imbalanced, we could say you can have that can affect your connection, like your spiritual connection.
Mm,
And then also on the other side of things, if earth, like, so if any of these elements are like either deficient and pulling from the element before them or afterward, or excess and also affecting the element before or after them, it can impact like that, what that we could say that element, how that element expresses through you. So yeah. And in Chinese medicine, Jupiter is wood.
mm.
I know. I don't, well, part of it is I think, like, I was looking at that, I was like, really, Jupiter is wood? And I'm trying to like think of how they are thinking about it, but I don't have all the details because I usually don't. I have to look more about the planetary connection of Chinese medicine. Um, I don't have all the details. And depending on I have to look at the different sources because there might be different information. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I did want to mention
Hmm.
that
Let's see.
there's some good aspects happening
Oh,
to
good.
the sun, to the sun, to the moon, and to the Jupiter Venus conjunction.
Hmm.
Um, Sextile Saturn, which is support from Saturn, right? Which gives it structure. So like whatever the good luck or the wish or the whatever it is that you're affirming is supported by something. Like it's not just a
It's not
balloon
just yeah,
in the
yeah,
sky,
floating
right? Like
around like
I know there's actual foundation
yeah.
for that. Like, and so there's a clear path to working towards whatever it is that you're wishing for, right? Because Saturn rewards you through work. So if you do the work, so whatever it is you want, you do the work, you get there. So there's that. There's a lot of potential for that in the moment in today.
Hmm.
Um, and so he's trining all three of those planets: the Sun, Venus, and Jupiter. And then Pluto is making a trine, right? So there's power. So there's power behind the path and the structure and the foundation for the thing that you want to create or manifest in your life, right?
So would you say this is a great time to like really reevaluate and set and like either recommit to an intention you already set, or set a new intention?
Well, you probably already have the intention. You probably already know what it is.
Hmm.
Like it's just I don't really know if I don't know if I subscribe to or relate to like that whole way of like
Yeah.
talking about it,
Yeah. Hmm.
but like you already you already know what you want and what you're working towards. So all I'm saying is like take a pause and
Hmm.
acknowledge the fact that the universe is conspiring for you and not against you right now, right? Like the forces, the symphony of astrology that washes over us, because that's what it is. They're frequencies that coming from a long
Hmm.
ways away that definitely are readable and trackable. And because we're water and because
Hmm.
mass is not mass,
Right.
We are affected by frequency.
Mhm.
So in this moment, there's this little like, you know, the recipe is right, the chemistry is right, like
Mhm.
it's supportive for whatever that happens to be.
The cosmic
Um,
chemistry. Yeah, I don't subscribe to that way of putting it, but
right.
I know that a lot of people think that way, which is why I posed it that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so in addition to that, the moon, which is opposing
Mhm.
the energy that we're talking about, right? It's in opposition, but that isn't necessarily bad. The moon is trining Pluto. Sorry, the moon is sextiling Pluto and trining Neptune at the same time. So the Neptune Pluto trine is um it's the dream.
Mm.
So the dream that you're having has, because moon is also trine or sextile to Pluto,
Mm.
there's power behind it,
Mm.
right? So the dream that we're talking about is supported. The whole thing is being supported right now by the heavies in the sky. There's no like, they're not stepping on your face. They're like kind of like everybody's like, okay, we're all on bases, and they're all like, okay, if you make the moves right, if you open yourself and you get out of
Mhm.
your own way, because the problem is that most of the time we're in our own way
Mhm.
trying to achieve whatever it is our thing is, right? So yeah, today is like that. So personally, my favorite magic is to look at myself in the eyes in the mirror and make a declaration,
Mhm.
right? I guess the next step of that would to be to talk about it, you know, as it already is,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
right? I am, not I want.
Mm-hmm.
But in the past, I've always used the I want or I need or I guess I will have instead of I am or
I
I have.
yeah. So
And Taurus,
mhm.
Taurus, which is where this Jupiter Venus conjunction is I have. So I already have
I already
it.
have. Yeah. And I'm going to add a little bit on that, which is we have these goals and dreams, and we make them outer things that we don't have. Now, on a physical level, yeah, we don't necessarily have them yet. But what we need to do is have the energetic level of having, which is I have $10 million. I am $10 million. With no trying to convince yourself, I am whatever. I am, yeah,
Well, and that kind of thing, like that, $10 million can take a lot.
yeah.
It
With
can take it could be a long path to get there,
right.
right? So you have to
Mhm.
have the vision, or you have to have the energetic, like to
Mhm.
connect to it that far away and find your way there. Like as per a conversation that I was having last night
Yeah.
about my trucks,
Mhm.
like, or an argument or whatever you want to call it, I refused to accept the fact that I wasn't going to get a title for my truck.
Mhm.
It wasn't, I mean, maybe I felt discouraged, but I never actually admitted defeat because I know that magic works. I know magic works for me.
Mhm.
So I was just going to sustain, persevere,
Mhm.
just keep holding the string, right? And eventually it would show up. So it only took no, it took less than a year.
Mhm.
Took
Right.
less than a year.
So you can make it a more, you could say,
That's just my example, right? It's my
yeah,
example of my most
yeah.
immediate, because I haven't had a lot of magic work out for me in the last number of years. So the
Mhm.
fact that that one did is a huge inspiration to me. And now my fire is rekindled.
Yeah, yeah. So that's why if you feel like you can't, it's like you can do the $10 million. You can also do $10,000. You can, because then you'll feel it in, like, for me personally, because not everybody can feel in their body. That you have varying degrees of being able to feel through your body, right?
Yeah.
Depending on what, your life experience and how you're shaped and all that. But I'm a big feeler in the body. And so I feel in the body, like I play around with those numbers and I feel in the body what they feel like. And then feel like just that's it. Like I don't try to give meaning to the feeling. I just feel it. I just let myself feel into those amounts. And then, you can decide like where you're going to start. Meaning
Mhm.
you can do both. You can do the long range, right? Vision and the short range vision dream. So that you can,
In order for me to get to France, I need at least $10,000,
yeah.
right? That's what it's going to cost, at least.
Hmm.
In order for me to have $10,000 in a year, well, actually, we're talking more like 13.
Yeah.
I have to save $200 a week. That's the breakdown.
Yeah.
I don't make enough money to save $200 a week right now,
Hmm.
but it doesn't mean.
She will if you guys buy sessions from her, by the way. I'm just gonna capitalize right there
There
that
you go.
statement.
Yeah,
And
there you go.
you'll benefit from the sessions greatly, I will tell you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's just getting us. We're all inside of our own box. The
Yeah.
reason we use these tools is to get our perspective outside of the box, to be more clear and less subjective.
Hmm.
And periodically, you need to stop along the way and assess the perspective. That's
Hmm.
what these tools are for. That's why I learned astrology. I learned astrology, or I started applying astrology
Mm.
to help other people with dealing with me. Straight up. Because
Yeah.
I am how I am, which is intense, which is used to be way more fucking intense, like
Mhm.
way just like all the time. Like, not, hey, how's it going? Do you have a moment? Can I ask you a question? It's like, hey, I need this like now. I needed it like last week. Can you help me? And if not, do you know somebody who can? Like, like for real, right? So I had to start assessing and learning myself and then develop applications for managing that in when it came to other people.
Mhm. Mhm. Mm.
I
Yeah.
mean, that was my original motivation. Like I needed help. I needed help so that I could help other people, so that I wasn't constantly, blowing over
Right.
like being Pluto all over them, because that's what dominates my chart. I mean, yes, my chart technically is ruled by Venus, but Pluto on my ascendant right in the first house right there is like, hey, hey, like,
Yeah.
am I intense enough for you? Are you authentic? Can you handle? I don't know if you can handle. We're gonna find out where the weaknesses are. And I don't even have to try. I just have to be there. I don't have to say anything. Sometimes just showing up is enough to make somebody freak out and attack me. Like
Yeah.
just start projecting all over me. And I'm just like, I am just breathing. That's all I'm doing. And I'm not even exaggerating. Like, I had a witness once, Stephanie, who I've done energy work with in the past. Um, we were talking about it, and we were talking about astrology and my Pluto placement and like whatever in my life. And she had witnessed a conversation on Facebook with a woman. Like, we were, talking about this thing, and the lady just lit into me and she went nuts. Like, she went way out of control. And Stephanie's like, yeah, I witnessed it. I watched that whole thing. Like, you didn't actually even, like, she just right. And so it was like her own stuff just being triggered by, I don't know, some people carry power in a different way. I carry a lot of it. I don't tend to abuse it. It still threatens people.
It's because we're in such a disempowered state collectively.
Right. So
And
yeah, so astrology is
Mhm.
has been my yeah, my psychology.
Yeah.
Astrology is psychology, actually.
Yes, it is. It
Just
is.
broken down into these little components so you can look at a map of your own particular stuff.
I'll tell you a misuse of power story that applies to my astrology chart. And when I taught yoga and I worked at a yoga studio, the owner, she's since passed. She was like my first big lesson. I was in my Saturn return years, big lesson in boundaries. She was very passive aggressive, and she got my chart details, and she did a synastry chart with us, and she tried to manipulate me
What?
through what she learned. But what happened was she left the reading on the desk, on her desk, and I had to, I had responsibilities or things I had to get off her desk, and she left it the way she left it. I could see it, and I was like, oh, I see the game we're playing now. And so that was, you know, really, really, because there was like a change in tone, because I know who gave her the chart, you understand? Like, so I put all
Uh-huh.
the details together about how she shifted, kind of pivoted, uh, while working with me, trying to figure out how to manipulate me instead of just being direct. And well, the interesting thing is I knew that about her because the first time she called me, I didn't apply for a job there. I was going to yoga classes. This is, 1998, right? And she hands me my invoice, and it's QuickBooks. I said, "Oh, QuickBooks." Well, that didn't pique her interest because she wanted someone to work there who knew QuickBooks. And she called me randomly and starts asking me questions about my life. Well, about after 10 minutes, I said to her, maybe it was like 20 minutes. I had ran out of patience. I said, "What do you want? You're asking me all these questions, but you're not telling me what you want."
Yeah.
She said, "Oh, I want you to come work for me." I said, "Well, you should have said that in the beginning, because basically you just had an interview with me and I didn't know you were interviewing me."
Oh, right. An interrogation.
Yeah, she was basically an interrogation. So that's the kind of sneaky, 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 sneak, which is why, yeah, this is why like everything I do is about permission-based energetics and very
Uh-huh.
clear boundaries about that, because I saw that abuse and misuse.
Okay, here. I think this qualifies as abuse of power that I used to do when I was younger, but it's not actually like abuse of power. When I encounter somebody who doesn't like me, right, for absolutely no reason, who doesn't like me, I will make them like me, or I will make them feel ridiculous for not liking me for no reason. Like, I used
Well,
to do that. Like, I used to be like, oh, really? You don't like me? But I'm just going to be this way and make you seem like a total fucktard because you have a problem with me for absolutely no reason.
your
And
Pluto's in Libra.
it's usually women. And then
Mhm.
in the after that, when I started learning nonviolent communication, I would put them in a position where I would empower them and ask them for something. I would find something to need from them and to give them an opportunity to like learn me something.
I get it. Yeah.
And that would what do I want to say, like disable the bullshit.
The power struggle.
The power struggle, yes, because it's a power struggle. But I was
Yeah.
like, oh, you want to do this? Well, guess what? Now you're gonna like me anyways.
But
But
that's
that's about as far as I ever went with anything like that. Because when you're younger and you have to work jobs and you have to deal with like
right.
women who have all kinds of insecurities, they like, plus being an eighth house person, I'm the projection board. Eighth house people get projected on all over the place by anybody who can't look at themselves and can't own their stuff.
And your Pluto's in Libra though, which is why I would like, it's kind of like Pluto and Libra. I could see that as the voice. So I'm gonna make you like me.
I'm gonna make you like me.
I'm gonna empower you to like me.
Well, like you're gonna not like me for no reason when I didn't do anything. Well, guess what? Now you're gonna have to like me in a way that makes you mad that you like me.
That's funny.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't do it anymore, but I'm also not in positions that I have to deal with that energy anymore, right? Being self-employed, doing my own thing, like, and when I do encounter it, I know I just have to go the other direction because there's no solution to that
No.
dysfunction, to somebody's dysfunction. There's no winning them over or healing them or showing them the way or anything like that. It's just like, okay, I gotta, yeah.
Well, it's also like a
That's a
video.
square.
Yeah.
That's a square. Okay, in your chart, that's a square. There is no solution really. It is a hard left turn you have to make every time.
Mhm.
Every time, right? Like, what did we say? Like, you have to actually, here's the analogy in car
Yeah.
version, like engines. To make a 90-degree turn, you really have to come at least to a rolling stop, right? Second gear turn. You don't have to all the way stop and go back into first gear. You have to slow all the way down until you
You're
can
almost, yeah.
go again. But with a trine, which is 120 degrees, not 90 degrees. What did you say? You said you can drift that shit.
I can
You
see
can
the Tokyo
hit it
drift.
at like how hard do you want to hit it? Because you can make it. It'll work, but there's going to be like some turbulence. But still, it's not like I have to come to a stop and then put it back in gear and then make my like that's the
That's
when you
I
say
love
you don't
that
understand
analogy.
squares. I'm like, well, that's right there. What I just described to you, that's a square.
Mhm.
That's the square that I have T square in my chart natally. So I'm always grinding up against that.
It's like, but it also reminds me of Saturn because you got to slow down for the lesson. You have to slow down. Like you actually,
You
like
just have to keep up. Actually, with Saturn, you have to be willing to learn and change. Like you have to change. You have to grow. You have to be growing. You can do it as fast or as slow as you want. It's not. I guess it would be more advisable to do it continually than to do it super
oh.
slow and then really fast and then slow and then fast, right? But I mean, plenty of people do that.
Well, like to me, it's like that interesting dynamic of if you're speeding up and nothing else is, everything looks like it's slowed down.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like where I would say that, like that kind of thing. Like it made, I don't know, like, but it definitely gets your attention if you have to make a left turn like that. If you have to make a right turn or, a 90-degree turn, you have to pay attention.
Right.
You can't drift it. You can't like kind of like half-ass pay attention to it. You've got to, it's like, okay, full attention here, otherwise you're going to crash.
I get so irritated when I have to come all the way to a stop to make a turn on this island, anyways, right? If I come to a stop sign and there's nobody for a block in either direction, and then the guy in front of me has to come to a complete stop and then take a few deep breaths and think about it before he goes, I get so irritated because I'm like rolling stop girl, like second gear stop all the time. That's just
That's like a great name for like a company, second gear stop.
second gear stop.
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah. Well, so we have anything else that we need to talk about that we
Nope,
need to share?
that's pretty thorough. We did a whole hour.
We did a whole hour, of course. It
Yep, a
flies
whole
by.
hour
Yeah. So, even if you have questions afterward, you
after the
can,
fact.
after the fact, tag one of us, tag both of us and ask them below.
Well,
And just,
write the question on there, and then we'll just answer it right on the.
yeah, we'll answer it right on the thing. But not personal chart questions that you reach out to Whitney for, um, for a session. And I'm going to be adding in some kind of meditative.
Okay, I'm just gonna say this right off the bat. We're gonna plug it. Sessions aren't expensive. Sessions are $100.
Yeah,
I'll look at the chart for $100, and for like as long as we talk, we talk. I'm not gonna clip you at 45 minutes or at an hour and 20 minutes. Like what I just talked to your client for 2 hours the other day. We
yeah,
just talked, and it is eventually in the future we'll get structured and I'll be whatever. But right now it's like it's $100 and we just talk as long as we
yeah.
talk.
There you go.
As long as there's like something to chew on, right?
Right,
Or
you're
until we
not
get
just going to
exhausted.
talk. Right, you're not going to be deficient fire talking with no
No,
substance.
no.
So there's that, and then I'm going to be creating some meditation and journaling. Um, I'm focused on the planets and the zodiac, but I'm just formulating all that. I kind of have a lot of things that are coming out, so that'll be something that'll be an offering that you can do on your own. It won't be a live thing, so then you can just pick it up when you want it. And that'll be inexpensive as well. I don't know how much it is because I haven't done it yet. As soon as I do it, I'll let you know. But and the other thing you can do is I'm just gonna share my I'm gonna share my Venmo, and if you want to donate, if you want to donate to us,
If you had
for this,
fun and you want
yeah,
to donate,
yeah, if you
because we
had
had
fun,
fun. This was
yeah,
fun
yeah,
today.
yeah, then just go ahead and I split it with Whitney, even though you're
We had to
giving.
have fun because it was Sagittarius and Gemini. It was inevitable.
It was inevitable. So I hope this has served you well. Honestly, we both hope that this has served you very well and that it'll help um, light your path
There's
forward.
so much fucking bullshit out there that somebody has to be the voice of like sense.
Right. This is like common sense stuff.
And that's what Jennifer does. She calls out all the bullshit and gets right to the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
well,
I think that one of the things, like if you see me and you hear me, it's different than when you read my posts. Because when you read my posts, some people I think get intimidated by that. But when you deal with me, I'm not there to criticize you or to tell you you're wrong but you gotta, that any of those intimidation feelings or kind of like feeling wrong about how you are, that's on you. Meaning like, I'm just inviting you to look. I'm inviting you to say, hey, stop effing yourself this way. Let's play. Let's play in authenticity. Let's play in true value. Let's play in the realm of soul. And, while we're in this material world.
there we go. I think that's where
Yeah.
we end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Finding out.
Thank you, Whitney. Thank you for being my friend and thank you for doing this with me. And then, yeah, so you'll see us again soon. Give us our chart. Give us a chart to read.
Give us
Give
a reason to come live next week. So,
yeah,
we got
give us someone get on the ball with that. All
somebody
right.
be the sacrificial guinea pig.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Lots of joy and aloha, everyone.